And welcome to the Fab Four. A little bit different than this Fab Four, but a good Fab Four nonetheless. Gentlemen, that was painful, was it not? It was good to get the draw. We were probably worth it for the second half, but that was a painful game, wasn't it, Timuchin?
It was painful. I mean, heck, before we started, we were going to take the draw, right? But especially after seeing the game, I think we definitely take the draw and run with it. I think, watching the game today, I felt like overall we have a better squad, but I don't know if we have a better starting 11. Or I don't know if we fielded the right starting 11. But to me, it felt like, you look at the subs we brought in and the energy we kept going in the second half, and they could not keep up with that as much. Because look at the quality. We were able to bring 5 players off the bench, and they did not have the same thing. So it felt like we definitely have a better squad. But you look at our starting midfield, and I felt like it got overrun by their midfield. And obviously, I don't know if because of the changes midfield looks better or because it's fresher legs midfield look better. But a golden point in that way. Away at City, a point is not too shabby.
Gali, it was a game of two halves, as the cliche goes. But we talked before about not using referees and as excuses and not using anything as an excuse essentially. Would it be unfair to say that first half was on the coaching staff more than it was on the players? Because we just seem to be set up so wrong or prepared so wrong to deal with City.
I think you could say that, but also we have 2 massive blunders. Allison gives the ball directly to Foden at the end of the 18 box. We're lucky we're not down 1-0 there. If he gets the ball up in the air, we are. He kicks it down down on the ground. And then the second one, it takes a flub kick, which was the right play. He tries to send Mo. Mo's in. Lee Dixon's still talking about it at halftime. And then I think, it's just a calamity of errors on all fronts by 3 different players in the midfield. And then Holland scores. And we can say we were set up poorly. We didn't look great in the first 45 minutes. Jones wasn't nearly on it. The announcer curse. I talk him up in the pre-match show, bring on Kazi, and then he gives us our worst performance in 3 years. But that happens. It's going to happen. I just think that, you see the gulf in class when you're not playing well. And I think that's what comes down to there. I don't think they played well in the first half. At times, City overran us, and we were lucky to only be down 1-0. We played poor enough for City to score a couple in the first half, in my opinion. And we still had some chances that were very minimal.
So on that,
I'm here to eat my medicine. Yes, it was terrible today. I'll say it again.
Just for anybody who's wondering.
I was waiting for this.
Free, I guess.
On that note of missing chances, I'll feed into your favourite subject because I kind of agreed with you in that half. A world-class striker puts us on the front foot early on in that game. Núñez seems to me like when he's good, he's fantastic and almost unstoppable. But when he's not good, he is a Sunday League football player sometimes by the looks of things, isn't he?
Yes. I've got to be honest, mate, I kind of disagree. In the first half, I thought the Reds were in it. I thought we actually played okay. Didn't think we were poor. Just thought we were in the game. I think we're forgetting who we're playing against a little bit. That is the best team in the world by a country mile. They won the treble last year. It's not a conversation. It's not a debate. They are the best team. They've won 23 home games on the bounce. They are a good fucking football team. And I thought Liverpool actually played quite well. The Núñez, that's why I was more frustrated in the chat with the Núñez chances, because you're not going to get many good chances at that ground. You're not going to get many. It's like when other teams come to Anfield. It's like you're not going to get many, so you've got to take one. It's exactly the same as going to the Etihad, and that's why the Núñez one's frustrating, because he does really well, by the way, when he beats 2 men, but he tries to do it again, and you're like, just get your shot off. And I think he did that in the second half when the Salah plays, and he just gets a shot off early, and Ederson makes a good save. Get your shot off. Make him work. Make him, he stood there all day. Make him do something. That's where the frustration come from. Because it's like, yes, of course, there's a calamity of errors for the goal. No one's arguing that. But Haaland needs half a chance, snips, goal, or gets a shot off. At least Alisson's actually unlucky probably not to save it because he gets a good hand on it. There's just so much power on the shot. But I actually thought we played okay. Jones is poor. No danger. Jones is really, he's poor. It looks like a player who hasn't played a football game since September.
Yep.
And he hasn't played a football game since September. But Trent just said it then perfectly, and I was thinking exactly the same thing. We went to City and played well better than that and lost.
Yeah.
Why can't we go there and play crap like they do to us and take a point off us? We've lost 2 league titles by a point to these pricks. But you know why? Because they take 4 points off us.
Yeah.
So why can't we go and take 4 points off them this season? Let's put some perspective into the game. I thought, again, we weren't at our best. We weren't amazing. But we have to dig in. Look at the Newcastle game. I know it's down to 10. It's a bit different. But you've got to dig in and give yourself half a chance with 10 minutes to go. I could see the frustration building up in the half time of making changes. I didn't want changes. Just stick at it and see where it comes from. Just stick in the game. Go on the 70, 75th and do your changes. But the one positive I really want to talk about today, every sub made us better. Every single sub made Liverpool better. And that's a rarity. It's happened this season a few times now. Every single sub, we look better. That, by the way, that fucking prick of a manager for them, he's been moaning all week that all his players are injured and doesn't make a sub. And he's been, are you serious? Stop.
Yeah, they all showed up anyway, so it's the usual.
They all play 90 and you don't make a sub and they're all injured. Oh, fuck off, lads. Just stop with that bullshit as well. But anyway, I'm off his soapbox. Where am I?
Timuchin, we talked, I think, in the pre-match about Doku on Trent, and in the first half, he did have like a bit of a way with him, but we seemed to have figured him out by the second half, and he seemed to get more frustrated as time went on. Did we cope well with him in the end? Did we get that kind of situation right? And if we did, where did that come from? Because we were worried about the Trent moving into midfield, leaving the gap. We were worried about Jobo not covering back. Jobo didn't have the best of games, I don't think, today. I don't think it would be unfair to say he wasn't at his absolute best. But did he do enough defensively to help Trent out?
I don't think you can look at anybody in the starting midfield and say they did well. I thought all three were like poor. McAllister looks weak in these games. I think he can play defensive mid when we're home and we're attacking. We have most of the ball, and you need an extra creator from that spot. But when we're playing against a team that's going to go at us and has a solid midfield, you can see the weakness. I mean, but here's the thing, though. You saw with Endo, yeah, that's a great tackle, but that's a great tackle because you came in late and it's the 80th minute. If he does that on the 10th minute and ends up with a yellow that early, then you're in the shit, and that's why Endo can't start. But to answer your question, I felt more than Szoboszlai. I thought Mo worked really hard on that right-hand side today. This is probably the most I've seen him drop back defensively and protect that. And basically, Mo gave everybody a taste of the medicine that he gets, right? Like when people are defending Mo, there's the left back, and then 10 steps behind, there's another dude. And that's basically what we ended up having to do with Doku, because the dude is good. And, he's going to take Trent on. Trent did decent with him, I think, most of the time. But I think that a lot of credit should go to Mo for how far he dropped and how regularly he dropped back to defend.
Gally, do you think that may have contributed to Salah maybe not being the danger he usually is against City? Because they usually crap at their pants when he gets on the ball, but maybe because he was doing so much defensive work today, he wasn't able to attack them as much as we would have liked, maybe.
I mean, if you're doing more defensive work, it's going to take away your chance to be up the pitch playing offense. So I guess it had a bearing on it. But, I mean, to Kazi's point earlier, I think sometimes you have to look across the pitch and give someone credit. We're giving Doku credit. Nathan Ake was the best defender on the pitch. He basically put Mo in his pocket in the first half. And unless those 2 or 3 times where off corners we looked like we were going to counter, like for the first goal, where it was like a mismatch with Mo running at like a Doku, basically, Ake did nothing. He didn't put a foot in incorrectly all match long, including looking like a young Maradona dribbling through our entire midfield as he set up Holland on the opener. And, I'm firmly tongue-in-cheek. I think the thing with Doku, he's really good, but you can also see, like, Bernardo Silva's so mad at him in stoppage time because he starts making poor decisions in the second half. And I think, like, Pep's throwing his hands up. And to Kazi's point, he clearly didn't want to start the Oscar Bob trend across all of Europe because Pep didn't go to the bench because he didn't think he had anything there to make a real impact. I mean, he's probably going to bring in Rico Lewis if he needed to change the game, and that's a 19-year-old kid. We didn't know his name last year at this time. So, City's definitely a great 11. Not so great a squad, but obviously they can still go in, put a performance in like that. Second half was just so much better. And to Kazi's point, I think all 5 subs worked, and they worked with a plan. And I think that's where Klopp won us this point. We earned a point today, and Klopp kind of took it from City, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Kazi, there was some talk about we had from what I caught when I got onto the pre-match about Tsimikas versus Gomez at left back, but I don't think Tsimikas did a huge amount wrong and was a great outlet for us at times when we probably needed to drive forward more than do that 20 passes at the back. That was just killing me, and I expected the post-match interview to be all about character and their lads did a great job. But he's up at Celtic, so we didn't have to worry about that. But Tsimikas gets some pelters sometimes, but he is solid when we need him to be solid, isn't he?
He is. And you know what, mate? He was great last week against Brentford before we went away. He got 2 assists and he was great then. So his 2 best games that he's had on the bounce in this run. So now he's starting to find form. This is the thing about players playing themselves in. He had a run, but like the Jones thing last year, he had a run of games, then he's brilliant. And now Costas is kind of hopefully doing the same. The Doku argument, mate, right? I didn't get it at all. He's tricky. He's dangerous. Clearly got a trick in his bag. Where's his end product? Because I feel like we have the same thing with Luis Diaz. We have exactly the same player. He does exactly the same thing. He's all paced, a bit of a trick. Where's Diaz's end product? Look at the pass Diaz made in the second half, by the way, when he should play Salah in. And he just hits Rodri. And Liverpool are on the counter. You just they're the moments, do you know what I'm saying? I know Liverpool, listen, it's an unbelievable point, but the Costas thing is brilliant. I'm super pleased for him because he does get stick, and we've all given him stick. And by the way, rightly given him stick at times. Mm-hmm. Rightly given him stick because he's being garbage at times. But as last 2, you got to just hold your hands up sometimes and go, you've been really good there, you know what I mean? You're playing against the team there, again, the best. They are the best. Kyle Walker's unbelievable. I didn't see Kyle Walker get up the field. Barely got up the field. Every time I watched it against anyone else, mate, he's bombing up and down that wing, mate, like going out of fashion. He barely got up the field. Do you know what I mean? Going back to the bench thing, which you guys brought up before, here's how good Doku there. How much doesn't the manager trust Jack Grealish? Because I would have put Grealish on for Doku for 15 minutes ago, or at least when Liverpool score, and go, win me a foul, get him booked, do what you can. Do you know what I'm saying? I think, we can go back to the start of the game. Was it a terrible game, no? Is it just me who thinks we're actually in the game? You have to stay in these games, or Liverpool can just open up and get beat 4-0. Do you know what I mean? I don't understand where this terrible game come from. Because if Nunes gets his shot off, when he has a great chance in the first half, if Salah gets his shot off when Nunes plays Salah in the first half, then we get 5 shots on target and we go, no, that was unlucky. That was good. Because it's all about that's why the stats blind you. Look at the game with your eyes. Do you know what I'm saying?
In my point of view, when I was looking at it, wasn't a terrible game in the sense that we were playing badly, but we were doing things that we don't normally do against City, which was to try and outpossess them, which I always think is a bad thing to do against City because they are, like us, one of the best pressing teams on the planet. Yeah. So it just seemed to be like we were making bad decision after bad decision and it wasn't getting fixed rather than players underperforming. It was almost like the plan was built to help City more than it was to help us.
We've done something different. We haven't won there in 8 games. Am I fucking losing my mind here? So we've done something different and we tried something. And it worked because Liverpool got a point. And we got battered there last year. So why can't the manager? So we all asked the manager to try different things. He's tried something. He tried to keep hold of the ball more and went, you know what, if you take some more of the possession, you take 40% instead of 25. Liverpool have more of the ball. They're less likely to score. The manager's done it. Liverpool get a point. And it's fantastic, isn't it? It's just, I don't understand where the negativities come from the performance.
No, I think that was where I was kind of like, I thought we were maybe mediocre to good first half. I thought we were really good second half. I think we earned this point. I thought we were going to go, if you give that, and I know there was 8 minutes of extra time, which made some people question where they came up with 8 minutes of extra time on one goal, but I guess it was our 5 substitutions in 3 different windows. But they get 8 minutes of extra time there. If you give us 5 more, I genuinely believe we score. I almost thought if Diaz brings that ball down and takes a touch, I thought I was going to get my morning call, and then I would have been on here doing a victory lap. We
just doing this naked. We're all just naked.
Yeah, I'd have no clue. This would be ripped This would be shirtless. I'd be outside. The neighbors would be calling the police. No, and I thought there was a chance there if he brings the ball down. Either he scores or maybe he draws it back. This was a good point. This was a good performance. I agree with Kazi. We did try something different. And for all accounts and intents and purposes, in the second half, it worked. I mean, granted, I think we get a little lucky on the goal that gets chalked off, but that shit has gone against us for 18 months, it feels like. So I'll take one, and I'm not apologizing for it. VAR did its job. It was called one way on the pitch, and there wasn't anything to change. So you leave the call, and then the second one's clearly a foul, as he basically walks him into the goal. So, what happens with Allison here, that could be the only negative. For me, the only negative comes out of this game is I would have loved Curtis Jones to play well, because it makes our team better when he is at good form, and we'll want to see him get out of that. He will. And it worries me about Allison if he is injured in any way. Obviously, we got to wait, but let's not get caught up in that. We got a great point. Mm-hmm. Trent scored the goal, which means for a week we don't have to hear about Trent giving up the goal that Haaland scored. And everybody in the country bangs on Trent on the back page of the papers. There'll be no banging on Trent now, in my opinion.
I'm not promising. I'm not making any promises on that.
Oh, no, I'm not saying by us. I think it would be easier for him in the real world.
Timuchin, we can all have our opinion on the game, on how it went, at least the first half, because clearly the second half on the subs made it a different game. But one thing, it was mentioned on the last thing I heard on the TV before I came to get this all set up is the bounce back ability of this team. Thank you, Ian Dowie, for bringing that word into the universe. But we've talked before in the post matches, we really are a resilient team, even if we don't play to our best, aren't we? Yes
and no. I don't know if I'm totally sold on that. Not as much as maybe before. I thought mentality was this team was stronger before. A lot of new people, and you kind of build that over time. So I'll go with that. Yeah. But, I mean, the bottom line, I mean, even Trent said after the game that he thought we did not play well. And I do agree. We did not play well, but we did not let them play well, too. If they were going to give City credit for not letting us play, then we got to take credit for not letting City play as well. Yep. But in the first half, I think the biggest difference is, like I say, is like the midfield to me. Like, you look at their press and you look at our press. They were able to come out of ours. We did not come out of theirs once, it felt like, moving the ball up. And I think that could be because how poorly our midfield played, or the front three is not really well built for that press with Nunes and Jota maybe. But either way, I don't think it's not like they had 10 clear chances. It hit the post and Ali had to play a ridiculous game or anything like that either. So I don't think we're totally running away with a point and lucky to save our ass kind of a game. I think, you play, you got 6, you get your B and you pass the class and you move on. It's that kind of like an ordeal, and no shame in that when you go away to City where they're probably going to beat everybody.
Before we get, I think it's a good comment because I want to see all three. I want to get all three of your opinions on this. What was Darwin's beef with Pep at the end? Because that seemed to come out of nowhere.
I have no idea.
I love the fact that he did it, because somebody has to have a go at Pep now and again so he doesn't get so cocky. But I just don't understand. That was
you looked livid. I don't know what was said. I don't know what was said.
I have no clue what was said or how it happens. They go in for like a quick handshake like most guys do. Now, Pep does look like he pulls him in and says something to him. Whatever he said, there's a 0% chance I actually believe Darwin knows what he said, but maybe he just didn't like it. And Pep is kind of but I will say Klopp leans in. They give their hugs and they have their cuddle there, but Klopp leans in and they catch him on camera saying, "You talk to your players, I'll talk to mine," or something like that. So whatever Pep told Klopp, he said, Klopp still was kind of like, well, why are you even talking to my guys other than good match, see you later type thing. And I think Pep does do that, right? He had the row with the Arsenal player. He had the thing with, I don't know if it was Ox or Trent, where remember he got one of them on the sidelines right at the end of a match. So he's done this before. Yeah. So maybe he said something and try to get in his head a little bit. And either way, I'll take it. I'd rather that than them genuflecting and asking for Haaland's jersey at the conclusion of the match.
Yeah. I think I listen to the Nunes thing's mad to me because, listen, I like the fire. I do. I like a bit of anger. I do like that in my football. But there's also a part where you got to go, can't you just rub it in his face a bit? Why get angry and get a booking? Can't you just look and go like that's almost something daft? Just do something stupid to him where you're not going to, you know what I mean? Could be a little pointless booking towards the end of the game, or a pointless sending off, for example, which referees love to do anyway, at the end of the game. So, yeah, great to see. Listen, you know, even though he was garbage, still great to see. You know what I mean? Like, I like a bit of anger in my football, so.
Is it possible Pep is like, you know, one of those people that they just have to have the last word in the argument? Like, the comedian says when you're leaving the room, they go, "Yeah, you prick." Yeah. And then you go, "What was that? What was that? What was that?" No. They never just let walk it away after a little dig before the end.
Yeah.
How does this result help us in a challenge for the league title, Cozzy?
The biggest, apart from winning. Like, again, I go back to it. Liverpool, the margins are so fine now in this league. They're so fine. And we have lost 2 league titles by a point to them because they took 4 off us. We can't keep letting them take points off us. If Liverpool are going to rely on City to take points, rely on yourself to take points off them. So Liverpool go and take 4 off them this season, and then let's just see what happens kind of thing. To me, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think they're the same side as last year. I don't. I think there's still the levels there, but I just think they dropped a little touch. Don't think they are the same team. I think, you know, losing Gundogan is probably a big loss to them. You know, Mahrez was kind of a staple. Yeah, he was a staple for them, you know what I mean? Gvardiol hasn't really worked out. Biggest game of the season, didn't start today. So that hasn't really worked either. As of right now, Doku still kind of, we're not sure on. You know, again, super talented, clearly. But, you know, it's massive for Liverpool. And I think we take loads out of that game. I think we take apart. Listen, the only negative I would say is, the Ali injury, because we just don't know. He has just sat there for 12 hours on a plane, and that can stiff you up as well sometimes, who knows. But it also comes back to the point he pulls his hamstring because he's in the 90-odd minute doing killing the ball with the outside of his right boot into the centre midfielder when you're 1-1 against City at the Etihad. So there's also a part where you've got to go, Ali, fucking hell, lad. Do you know what I mean? Yes, you got injured and we all feel sorry for you. Hey, mate, come on. There's times and places to do that kind of shit. When you're in the 95th minute, 1-1 at the Etihad, you know what I mean? It's not that time, big man. But, yeah, mate, I'm still super confident we can win the league. I really am. You know, and I'll go back to Tim's point about the McAllister thing before. He doesn't look right. The number 6 doesn't look right. But I'll tell you right now, if we have Bajcetic in this side, do you know what I mean? Because based on his performances last year, when he was playing in the 6, Liverpool might look like a different prospect again.
To move to one for the road for you then, should Ox have been selected for this game?
Yes, I thought this was a huge opportunity for him to come off the bench.
I mean, he loves the ball again.
I mean, that was the biggest difference today, right? Like the people we could bring off the bench and the depth of this team. And I guess now we have the luxury to argue starting 11. We never had this opportunity to argue about this before. It kind of filled in for itself. I think, like, I remember, like, on Monday podcast, we would fight over one guy, and that's the only guy. Like, everybody else was already automatically filled in. But I think, you know, I remember, like, we used to talk, and, like, Kazi was actually, like, I remember us always saying, hey, you know, you got to get 6 points from City if you're going to win the title, right? Normally. Under normal conditions, under normal City that's rolling and never losing points, we were like, the only way to beat them is get all the points away from them. I agree that this year it's not the same City, so getting 4 points off of them could be enough. But either way, I think it's a golden point. I think it could have gone a lot worse. I mean, it did start a lot worse, let's say, but it's a good point to take away. I mean, again, I said this last week, and I can probably say it again this week. After 13 games, if I told you this summer that we'd be a point behind, a point behind them, especially after the schedule we had so far, I think any of us would take it. Yeah. What I will not want to take is this drive to Indianapolis I'm about to do now for 2 hours.
How long is that for you, people? How long is it?
It's going to be like 2 hours or whatever, but it's not cool when you only slept 4 hours. So it's like half my sleep time is going to, I might catch up on sleep as I drive there. So if you're on the highway, heads up.
I'm going to a 10-year-old's birthday party, and I got up extra early to host this shit show. So I'm not, and that 10-year-old's not even related to me. So I want to make it clear.
I wouldn't say that on camera. I would not say that on camera.
I'm going to tell you right now, if there's any begging for clothes jerseys or anything happening in that backyard, you will see that report about the crazy Italian person goes crazy at kid's birthday party. I'll be like taking down bounce houses and just whack a troll. I'll be taking kids out in youth football. I mean, the kids are probably bigger than me. They are 10, but it's going to be something else. So I think, so I just want you to realize.
Well, you have fun. I know I will. Hey, good show, boys. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys. I'll see you guys next week.
See you later, mate.
Okay, so as we come to the end of it now, for the early morning Saturday games, or even if we ever play on a Friday afternoon, the game usually dictates how my weekend goes emotionally. Now we can do all the technical talk and all the stuff we want to do as supporters for the show, and like as we would do in the pub after a game, if we were watching in the pub or watching in the game and going to the pub afterwards. But in the heel of the reel, as we say back home, it is a good point for us, and it does give us a good weekend where we can sit back and see other teams do damage to themselves or have damage done to them if possible. Do you think, Cozzy?
Yes, mate, exactly. Again, we all would have took it at the start. This team, will go back to it, have won 23 home games on the bounce. This is a joke of a team. If they would have won today, they would have set the record, beat Sunderland's record from the 1900s. That's what you're talking about in terms of level. And Liverpool went there today. They've kept it compact, they've kept it tight, and they've stole one. And do you know what? And the fucking teams do it to us at Anfield over the last 5 years. So why can't we go and steal one? Do you know what I mean? And so this thing about performances and we should do better. Do you expect to go there and get 70% of the ball? Because you're not. Liverpool have to do something different. Liverpool got 40%. Not many teams in this league will go there and get 40%. So I'm super pleased, mate. I think it's a great, great point. City's next 2 league games, I think, is Spurs at home and then Villa away on a Wednesday night. I do not want to go to Villa on a Wednesday night. I think they've got the best home record maybe in the league or one off. Villa, I think they've won the last 8 at home in the league or 9 at home. So they're a tough prospect for them to go on a Wednesday night. So Liverpool can sit back now. You've got 2 league fixtures which Liverpool should win in the net coming up. Without Fulham at home and then Sheffield United away, Liverpool should win those games. And then let's just see what happens towards the end. But mate, brilliant from Liverpool today. I think really good. You dug in. The subs have changed it. The manager got it right. The Gakpo sub's brave, by the way. I want to mention that. It's brave to put him back in centre mid. And I thought he was really good. A couple of cynical fouls, unfortunately, but I thought he was still really good. So yeah, super pleased.
Gali, the last review word for you before you go and smash up some bounce houses.
I would agree with a lot of what Kazi said. I thought the Gakpo substitution was a brave one, and we talked earlier this year that maybe at times him playing in the 8 was almost to a hindrance for him, because it pulled him out of the position he's playing in, and it looks like at this point Klopp feels that Darwin through the middle is what's best for the attack. So I think we're probably in line, especially with some of the matchups, that we're going to see some of Gakpo in midfield, and I'm all here for it because it's probably time that Szoboszlai gets a little bit of gets 45 minutes from the bench. Sometimes it recharges the batteries to watch somebody else play a little bit in your position. And he looks like a guy right now that's running around that pitch. I think Matu said it in the Discord channel. He looks like a guy who believes there is no one else that he's competing with to play, because he's the first name on the team sheet almost every single week. And he could use probably a night off. And I think we might see Gakpo from the rip, maybe even a rare Harvey Elliott start, who's probably earned it more than anybody over the last month with all of his substitute performances. Great point. Good 2 shows today, guys. Really appreciate it. And I'm with you. This is how the weekend gets going. And for anyone who's seen all of Bickler's comments in the chat, that is because he's just trying to buy his time before Michigan-Ohio State kicks off, and he has to go into round 2 of a meltdown matchup day. So thoughts and prayers with whoever's spending the afternoon with Bickler as he watches that match that football match the next 3 hours.
Fair point, but don't forget, Galley's going to start people's elbowing a few kids in a second, so who knows?
He's got an hour and 45 minutes for that, let me tell you.
I just want to point out, if they lose, apparently we'll never see Bickler again.
Please.
He will be the Thiago Alcantara of the American Scouser TV shows. And before we go, just remains to say, make sure you're following us on all the social medias, the Twitters and the Instagrams and the Facebooks, the Discord channel. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, and sharing all of the great content you get here, the Monday podcast, the ASTV, the Thursday Madness with the technical difficulties, and the outpatient mental health release we get, me, Trevor, and Brian. For Thursdays, and the coffee morning coffees, EPL show, the fantasy football show. We've got so much going on. It's a crime when people don't click on and see who we are, what we do, and the madness that comes with everything that is American. That's what makes being a Liverpool fan so great. And because he knows this, because he's a Scouser. There's just there's a mental defect in there somewhere that just makes us the best group of people to be around. That's the sense of humor is important to be a Liverpool fan, and you know that universally, because Everton have a deficit of sense of humor as well as money.
About -10.
Yeah,
that's
10,
right.
10 points down.
Too easy.
So make sure you're clicking, liking, and subscribing, and it just remains to say, make sure you guys have a great weekend. Thank you, Gali. Thank you, Cozzy. Thank you, Tamuchin. He's getting, maybe 1.5 hours closer to Cozzy's time zone, wherever that is. And we'll leave to say, have a great weekend. Here comes the 70s porn.